Welcome to Meaningful Mornings. Yesterday, I arrived at the Dulles airport at 3 p.m. and I was to leave for Detroit at 4:30. I ended up leaving at 10. I was at the airport for a long time and I got here at 11:30, and it was really lovely because naturally I was concerned, others were concerned, because I'm about to facilitate a Vivaha Puja here in Detroit. And how would they find a backup so soon? So I was sharing some emails, and there was many people that were ready to make a road trip. They'll pick me up from the airport, drive me to Detroit, and bring me back, which is really awesome about our community. But the point I'm trying to make right now is, in a few hours when I facilitate this Vivaha Puja, there's one step which we traditionally have heard as Kanya Dana. And if you interpret this most literally, Dana means to donate, and Kanya means one's daughter. And so what I will be speaking out is Bala Dana. Dana, which means generosity, comes from Dakshina, which means gratitude. When a parent, a caregiver, it could be an uncle, an aunt, really anyone of an older generation, when they are grateful for how a child, one of a younger generation, has challenged them to be a better person, more patient, more loving, etc. From that feeling, from that dakshina, this gets expressed as dana, the generosity that you have learned from this relationship and no longer depend on this relationship and are encouraging this relationship to continue to grow into this marriage, grow into possibly becoming a parent, and so on. This baladana is a sign of a caregiver finding inner security. And though everyone is going to be crying, they shouldn't. Those who have this security complex in their personality, and they don't want to cry, they don't need to cry. So for everyone who is a parent of a child who is unmarried, like myself, I'm preparing you for 25 years from now. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 14, verse 5, is a survey of the gunas or qualities. Then what happens after that? In verses 6, 7, and 8, specifics of the qualities are shared. You survey the land, then you get into the specifics. This is over here, that's over there. In verse 9, there is a summary of that section of 5 verses. The summary is, Sattva makes one feel sukha, Raja makes one feel karma, Tama makes one feel pramada. I'd shared this is one of the worst words and vices, which is to be careless. This happens again. In verse 10, Sri Krishna shares a survey of the forthcoming verses. Then in verses 11 to 13, he shares with us the specifics. That's over there. This is over here. In verse 11, which is oriented towards sattva, Sri Krishna has shared, a lifestyle of lightness, light-handed, light-hearted, light-headed, leads one to feel light. That is chit, that is awareness. I furthermore shared about how to analyze which quality you are predominantly. We are all the qualities, but they're always changing. Still, one is our default. And this is based on what you're thinking of. Self-only, selfish, selfless. Based on this, one is to figure out if they are a worker, organizer, leader, thinker. Let me give you different words to try to make this more relatable. A thinker would be like a CEO. They probably don't sign a lot of things. They probably don't type a lot of things, but they have to think for that whole organization, that corporation. A leader is like a VP, a vice president. They have to take what the CEO has thought about and lead that. An organizer is like a manager. Lots of you who work in different corporations, you have a manager. You do all of the work. They get all of the credit. They get credit for organizing. And the worker is a worker. A worker is one who is an employee. Okay? More relatable. But now here's the main point I'm trying to share in all of this. This chapter, gunas, are for our swadhyaya, to get to know who we are. These are not references, gauges, to really get to know someone else. They are not to be used against someone else. When you know who you are, your sadhana or your self-development can be more refined, curated, perfected. What I have found with any relationship with the gunas, whether you're studying about this, whether you're hearing teachers speak about this, instead of emphasizing that there are differences in one's personalities, what has happened is we focus on the distances, that thinkers are high and workers are low. When I was at the airport, and I was there for a long time watching, in this airport, every type of personality is needed. You need the worker, the organizer, the leader, the thinker, or that airport doesn't work. I wouldn't be here right now. I feel that this is a product of capitalism. In capitalism, it's very much might is right, so all becomes a hierarchy. So we have to be careful about how we're using the gunas for our own self-study, so that finally we can feel our nature. We continue to verse 12. This is a very robust, rich verse that doesn't describe you. Okay? Can you see the twinkle in my eye right now? If you can't, it's because I'm sleeping. Lobha pravrittirambaha karmanam ashamaspraha rajasyetani jayante vivriddhe bharatarshabha. Joy. I'm reading the translation. It's straightforward, but there's lots of ways to relate to this verse. Greed, activity, undertaking of actions, restlessness, longing. These arise when Rajas is predominant or best in the Bharata family. Okay, you also have the translation. Here's how to relate to this verse. In our Upanishads, there is a powerful framework called the Shat Ripu, which means 6 enemies. Here's what they are. The first 2 are Kama and Krodha, which means desire and anger. The third is Lobha. That's shared here. When I have a desire, most likely I don't get it, so I feel angry. The occasional time I get it, I become greedy. What happens when one becomes greedy? Pravrittihi arambaha karmanam. One undertakes activities to get the karma phala. In this framework of 6 enemies, that is moha. Moha is a feeling of confusion. When one is greedy, one feels they can keep on getting, but we all know that that's not possible. It's like someone at a casino. They may have won a certain amount of money on the slot machines and they feel it's going to happen again and again and again, but the house always wins, correct? Moha. What happens after moha? Ashamaha. Shama means quietude of mind. Ashama, loudness of mind. In this framework, that would be mada. Mada in English means arrogance. An arrogant person is stuck in their own head. An arrogant person overthinks. Arrogance is where I feel I'm the doer, and so I keep thinking, how come I don't get recognition, ovation, inclusion? And then the final part of this framework, we go from moha mada to matsarya, which means jealousy. Shri Krishna uses the word spraha, or longing. I see that person has what I want. That person got this position. I become jealous of them. I long for what they have. Powerful framework, yes? Very accurate. That's a framework of 6. I'm going to give you a framework of 3 now. From Upanishad to Bhagavad Gita, when we recommence Meaningful Mornings for semester 12. This will be on Monday, September 11th. We're going to start chapter 16. In chapter 16, Shri Krishna uses the reference of Trividam Narakasya Dwaram. Now here's where I'm going to tell you, please remember this. Here's where, when I do tell you that I already taught you this, you're going to say, yes, you did, Vivekji. Then I'm going to ask you, where did I teach you? And you're going to say, Ramayana. Shri Krishna shares, there are 3 gates to hell. Those 3 gates are Kama, Krodha, and Lobha. When the vice of greed is in our personality, it is the same as being in hell. One more reflection from 6 to 3 to 2. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam. Shri Krishna is defeating lots and lots and lots of asuras as a child. One of them that he defeats is a storm, like a dust storm. And one of them that he defeats is a fire, a wildfire. And the symbolism for us is that anger comes on like a storm, fast. Greed comes on like a fire, which is slow. Really thoughtful how these asuras symbolize our vices. Anger comes on fast, yes? We don't even know what happened. But greed, you have to be so careful about because it's like the silent killer. I think having high blood pressure is called the silent killer. So greed is like that. Fine, so much negativity. What are we supposed to do about it? Lobha is the vice. The substitute virtue is dana, or generosity. To fight greed, one has to practice generosity. The societal, the scriptural advice when it comes to dana is to offer 20% of your resources to not you. The societal advice as a gauge for dana is 10% of your resources to not you, meaning to society. Now I have to go with this alliteration. You have scriptural, you have societal. The selfish narrative that 20% is too much, 10% is too much, is 10% of your age. See all of the justification and conditions come in. 10% of your age is what should be offered in dana. And I know we have this practice to do it yearly, but this should be done monthly. Those who are doing this monthly, do this weekly. Those who are doing this weekly, do this daily. This dana is not just about what you are offering, but when you are offering. To check this lobha. From inspiration to application. Your application yesterday was to continue to restudy chapter 4, verse 13. I'm looking for hands. How many of you have done this? Good, more hands, but not all hands. So what's your application for today? Do it again. Make sure that the relationship between varna, guna, karma is solid for you. For some of you who are really loving Bhagavad Gita Meaningful Mornings, you should be part of this live in the AM, like all of you are doing, and then listen to a recording in the PM. Go through Bhagavad Gita again. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Be joy.